Welcome everyone to yet another video about the Banned from Broadcast series. This time will not be a continuation of the Large Family series, but yet another story in the same universe with its own series of unexplained events. So without further ado, let's play the tape.
テレビ局には無数のビデオテープが存在する。番組として編集され、音楽やナレーションをつけたテープをカンパケ、ロケやスタジオなどで収録された編集される前の段階のテープを素材と呼ぶ。
Now, I will narrate the narrator and tell you that there's over 1 million tapes stored in these facilities. As stated before, they are categorized in different categories. Most of these videotapes gets erased after broadcast, becoming lost media, while the most popular ones get stored somewhere. However, there's a different kind of videotapes, and a number of these tapes has no title or information about what is on them. It remains a mystery why certain tapes were never broadcasted. But because of changes in staff, some of these tapes were never brought to light, until recently when it was decided to check these lost tapes to see what was on them. The mood of the program suddenly changes when it gets revealed what was on these tapes.
この番組は当時放送が禁じられていたあるお蔵入りテープを発掘し、その当事者たちなどから了解を得て再編集したものである。収録が開始された日は今からちょうど3年前の2000年4月7日。そしてこのテープの中に収録された映像はにわかには信じることのできない衝撃の記録であると言える。
はい、お願いします。わかりました。
This time, the documentary crew consists of reporter Madoka Saki, director Toho Tasuda, and cameraman Masayuki Endo. Don't worry, these names are not that important to remember, but I'm going to refer to them using their names, of course. Madoka first makes a narration about Tokyo's different eras in history and the rise and fall of the economic bubble that collapsed in 1989. In the background we see the Rainbow Bridge, an important symbol of Tokyo's rebirth after World War II and a sign of hope for the future. She then introduces a more recent event, a mystery that has led to the disappearance of several people that took place in an old run-down apartment complex, which is said to be haunted. The last remaining member of this group of friends is Ohashi. His apartment is located in Iluma City, so they schedule an interview with him to learn more about his horrifying experience and what he thinks happened to his friends. So on April 7 of 2000, they start the investigation.
どうもこんにちは。先日連絡
大橋直也さん。大橋さんは都内の私立大学に通う一人暮らしの大学2年生。
準備ははい渡しました。大丈
じゃあ、お願いします。
夫。よろしくお願いします。
それでは、大橋さんが体験した出来事を話してください。
3ヶ月ぐらい前の話なんですけど、高校時代からの友達の福田良一ってやつに女の子紹介してくれって頼んで、でそいつと一緒にコンパ行った帰りの話なんですけど、幽霊が出るビルに
They then decided to check it out. They even captured a video of them exploring the place, recorded on what I only can assume to be a potato, to get that extra authentic feel. And just for you guys to not be more confused than necessary, there are 4 people in total.
ただいま12時51分です。今から行ってみたいと思います。行くのはいいんだけど。行くよ。本当にしていこうぜ。ちょっと先照らしてよ、先。全然見えねえ。ちょっと面白くね。面白くないよ。うお、怖え。怖い。声響くね。
その時は何もなかったんですけど、ビル出た後に良一がいないことに気がついたんですよね。
After a while, they're not able to find Luigi anywhere, so they make up their mind thinking that he already went home. At first, they thought it was just a joke when they couldn't contact him afterwards. But he had actually disappeared without a trace. Unfortunately, after this, the audio just cuts off randomly. Well, the video is still intact, so to give a good guess on what Ohashi was talking about here without really knowing, I think he's just talking about how his friends disappeared one by one, because we see an image of each person and a date on when they disappeared. So Manani, she was the next to go missing on February 5th of 2000. Afterwards, Rikaku went missing not too long after, on the 19th of March, leaving Ohashi to be the last remaining survivor. Madoka is determined to find out what happened to the 3 of them, so she comes in contact with a local expert, a psychiatrist of sorts, to hear what he thinks happened to the 3 of them and where they might be. Professor Matisawa speculates that the true nature of this ghost incident is a typical case of collective neurosis, which means that they went missing due to societal issues. Could be mental illness, for instance. He then throws the point across that, especially boys, wants to prove themselves and go to unfamiliar scary places with the sense of self-discovery. But in these places you have to be careful and cautious, because the state of your mind can change depending on what you want to find. They of course filed missing reports on all 3 of them, but because the police are unable to find any link between the disappearances, there's not been a full-on investigation yet. 2 days later, on April 9th, Madoka and the crew heads out to find where the video was recorded at, aka the haunted place. It is located in Tokyo Minato Ward, which is where Tokyo Tower is located as well.
困ってんですよ。我々も変な噂立てられるしね。本当に勝手に取らないでください。じゃあ。
このビルの中にはどんな会社が入るんでしょうか。
このビルの管理自体は私たちの会社が任されてるんですけどね。細かいことは聞かされてません。
もうどのぐらい使われてないんですか。
3、4年でしょうね。
このビルの中に入って失踪した人間が3人いるんですけれども、そのことに関して何か。
The manager is very tired of this story because nobody wants to buy a haunted building, unless your name is Luigi. Then there's a big market potential. You just gotta think outside the box, man. Back to the story. They negotiate with the manager and gain access to the building, so they can take a look inside themselves. Of course, hoping to find some answers or proof of these strange occurrences. They then walk up to the 3rd floor to find the same place where Onashi had recorded earlier with his friends. They then try to walk in the same pattern as Ohashi and his friends did in the original recording. But I have no idea how you would make anything out of this. It is literally pitch black. That might actually be the most strange thing so far.
どのぐらい使われていないんでしょうか。フロアは閑散としていて、デスクなどオフィスがあった痕跡は見当たらないようです。このビルには一度入ったら二度と出ることはできないという都市伝説のような怪談めいた噂話が存在します。 大橋さんの周辺で起こった出来事はまさしくこの噂を実証したということになるんでしょうか。3人の若者の失踪の謎を解き明かす手がかりはこのビルにあるんでしょうか。
1 week later, on April 16, 2000, they drive around Tokorozawa, Saitama. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's the same area where Psycho the Large Family takes place. The reason for them being there is because they want to interview Rikaku's family, the girl who was the last to disappear. She was a 19-year-old student at the Tokorozawa nursing school. She is described as a general nice person who never argued with anyone, and her parents' only daughter. Madoka asked the parents how she was doing and if they noticed anything out of the ordinary leading up to her disappearance. But she was just as normal as ever, consistent in her studies. Her father has no understanding of her disappearance, but that may change now as they walk upstairs.
その後スタッフは家族の許可を得てリカ子さんの部屋を取材することにした。そこで取材スタッフは思いもよらぬものを発見する。それはリカ子さんの勉強用のテキストだった。だが荒々しく赤いマジックで書かれていた数個の Z の文字。一体これは何を意味しているのか。実は取材スタッフはリカ子さんのノートに書かれた Z の文字の手がかりをすでに得ていた。
3人の若者の失踪の謎を解き明かす手がかりはこのビルにあるんでしょうか。
ハイビルの3階フロアを取材する佐伯リポーター。その背後に映し出された落書き。そこにはリカ子さんのノートに書かれた文字と同じ Z の文字。この奇妙な符号は一体何を意味しているのか。
5 days later, on April 21, they're back in Uloma City to interview Ohashi once again, to hear what he thinks about what they have discovered. But the last 5 days, they have not been able to contact him, calling him, emailing him, but no response. So they try to meet him in person.
そこで取材スタッフは直接大橋さんのアパートを訪れた。
大橋さん。
その日スタッフは遅くまで大橋さんの帰りを待ったが彼が部屋に戻ることはなかった。
His family then made a missings report as well, but with no proof or anything, there's nothing to do. With another person missing and the strange findings of the C symbol found in Rikuka's notebook, and the data recorded inside the building, Madoka and the crew agrees that there's enough evidence for them to conduct further investigation. They come in contact with the building's management because they want to find out who is the owner of this real estate company. They want to make an interview with the owner, but he only agrees to do an interview if they use a different name, alter his voice, and no camera. 6 days later, April 27, they do the interview with Mr. N, as he wants to be named. I will now do my best to summarize the interview. When Mr. N took ownership of this abandoned building It had been abandoned for 2 to 3 years, and he is of course worried that he can't sell the building due to the rumors. He suspects that the rumors are based on an old company that used to be there. There had been a variety of different companies through the years, like small but serious trading companies and law firms. However, there was one company in particular that suddenly disappeared without a trace. A publishing company created by a group of friends that one day was gone. The owner of the company was Todo Shonji. He had gone into hiding somewhere after this. It may sound like there's not really a link between anything here, but the third floor where the graffiti was found is where the publishing company, coincidentally enough, used to be located at.
2000年5月5日、その日のテープには福島県のある山荘地域の映像が収録されていた。そこには出版社の代表だった東堂氏の山荘があった。伝ったスタッフが調査したところ、東堂氏は以前住んでいた東京から福島県飯野町にその活動拠点を移していたことが分かった。
But when an investigation was supposed to be carried out about his real identity, he had suddenly moved his business from Tokyo to a very remote town in Fukushima Prefecture. His psychic abilities and predictions were often questioned by the public eye, and very few took him seriously. However, Madoka and the crew had found something weird about his name.
私たちはついに自称超能力者東堂俊二氏が住んでいると思われる別荘に到着しました。辺りは木々に覆われていて閑静な別荘地といった趣です。一体東堂氏は謎に満ちた今回の集団失踪事件と関係あるのでしょうか。そこのところを取材したいと思います。東堂さんいらっしゃいますか。
はい。
こんにちは。
あ、こんにちは。テレビの取材に来たんですけ
東堂氏はインタビュー取材の申し出を受け、スタッフを山荘内に招き入れた。
First, the interview is focused on what he knows about the 4 missing students, and he gets uncomfortable when he is asked if he has any connection to this case. Madoka then dismisses any confusion by pointing out that they all went into the building, and therefore all have the same thing in common. Todo tells us that all he knows is that he used to have his base there, and all he wonders now is what happened to it since he left. Then Madoka follows up a question by asking him why he moved location in the first place. He says in quote, "Everyone in the company talked about where and what they wanted to do next. As for myself, I no longer had an interest in publishing. I had other things I wanted to do, so therefore I closed my company." He then tells us that he had an awakening. Madoka of course asks, what kind of awakening? He then says in quotes, "If I explain it to you, you probably wouldn't understand." Madoka replies, "Are you talking about your psychic abilities?" He reveals that he does in fact have psychic abilities, but he makes an effort not to use them. The mood of the interview suddenly changes when he is asked upon how he gained such powers.
嘘をつくな！お前たちは私の力なんて信じてないだろう！ 申し訳ない。でも本当に存在するんだ。
Todo finally gives us an answer to how he gained his powers. He got his power from someone or something that he only can describe as they. Madoka tries to get a more concrete answer, but he is not able to, or is unwilling. Madoka pushes the question forward again about what happened to the 4 students. He again states that he has no idea of what happened in the building, but he suggests that did it on their own volition. Madoka asks one more time, but Todo ignores the question and reveals the power he was given.
わかりました、東堂さん。もうやめてください。その気になればあなたたちの頭を割ることだってできるんですよ。試してみようか。
It's such a comedic pause. It's like that Far Cry 6 meme.
Or was I?
Alright, back to the mind torture. I think we all now, with no doubt, can say that he was responsible for the 4 students who got missing. But the question being now, who are the mind control people? There's a chance that this could be the 4 missing students, or just salarymen. But who knows, because the tape ends here. We then have a shot of Todo again laughing like a mad lad. A last shot of Madoka trying to reach out to the camera, but she's completely powerless. None of them were ever heard from again. It's never made clear, but sometime down the line they were able to track down the van parked outside the lodge. There's no explanation to what happened or why these videotapes ended up here, because why in the world would you leave these videotapes there to be found if you'll become the main suspect of kidnapping and possibly murder of several people? Well, we'll get some answers down the line. And by the way, the police is like, yeah, it is possible that something weird is going on. Makes you wonder why the crime rate in Japan is so low. Around 3 years has passed since their disappearance, and only recently they've been able to find the videotapes again. So in March of 2003, a search for the missing crew members is ongoing. In search for news about what happened to the crew, they decide to visit the mountain lodge one more time. But to no one's surprise, there's no one to be found, and the lodge is now for sale.
取材スタッフのみならず東堂氏自身もその消息を絶った福島県の北部に位置する飯野町。阿武隈山系に位置するその町は数多くの珍しい巨石が点在していることでよく知られている。
So, to not cause any confusion, a megalith means mega stone. It's like a prehistoric monument. Some of them are used for ritualistic purposes or even burial grounds. The most well-known one, famous one, is the Stonehenge, which was made by a druid, a Celtic priest from the ancient times. But megaliths are made in many different shapes and scattered around the globe. Now, hold your horses for a moment, because it's about to get weird.
そして飯野町のシンボルともいえる千貫森は古代のピラミッドであるという説もある。そして我々は飯野町付近の住民からある興味深い証言を得ることができた。我々は早速スタッフが消息を絶った日と同じ3年前の2000年5月5日にある体験をしたという人物に話を聞いた。
That both give their testimony on what they saw was unbelievable, and the only explanation for what they saw was a UFO that coincidentally enough happened to be seen the same day the crew had gone missing. We then see a video from one of the locals that captured something strange that very day.
これは何でしょう。
スタッフがその消息を絶った2000年5月5日、福島県の上空で数多くの人間が未確認飛行物体を目撃していたという事実。それは一体何を意味しているのか。
これは
A leading UFO researcher, Leo Takemono, believes that this pyramid has some sort of energy grid, a magnetic field that attracts UFOs, so this becomes like a crossroads between dimensions. He's backed up by the many sightings of UFOs and other incredible events found in the area around the mountain, ancient pyramid thing.
2003年3月、事件から3年が経過。しかし、未だ一連の失踪事件の有力な手がかりは得られていない。
As it stands today, the haunted building in Tokyo Minato Ward is still untouched. There was a plan to demolish the building because Mr. N had seemingly disappeared as well, the owner of the real estate company. But because no one wants to take ownership of this responsibility and due to financial reasons, the building never got demolished, and it still remains to this day.
N 氏の失踪後、幾度となくビルの取り壊しが検討されたが、費用などの面から頓挫し、今も同じ場所に残されたままである。
Did you see the truth? Now, there's not a whole lot to talk about, but there's probably still more than you might think. This whole ancient pyramid thing, UFO part, is actually based on a true story. With one quick Google search, you will discover that this whole town is dedicated to this legend of the pyramid, and is indeed said to be a hotspot for UFO sightings. The stone, the researcher, the recording of the UFO is all real events and people that has taken place or exists. In 1995, the town's population peaked with about 9,500 residents. But like many other places around Japan, it followed the same fate of a decreased population, now only storing 5,000 residents as it stands today. Anywhere you go in this town, there'll be something referring to aliens or UFO. There's a dedicated museum and a souvenir shop next to the research center. that started in 2021. And as far as I know, the first real UFO research center in the world. Now, if you don't have your tinfoil hats yet, I suggest you go to the kitchen and make one. Because I have actually seen weird things in Japan as well. There's a video on this channel already where I was attending a flower festival in Chichibu with my friend Kimna. While I was there, I discovered this mountain that really resembled a pyramid. I can't get my head around this. Looks like a pyramid now. What is going on here? I actually think this mountain that I found looked more like a pyramid than this one. The other odd thing happened when I was in Ueno Zoo for the first time. I saw this weird thing in the sky, so I wanted to capture a video of it. Unfortunately, for some reason I had deleted the video, so I only have this picture left. And it is indeed a blob of light. So at this moment I had originally planned to give a conclusion where I believed Toto to be controlled by some aliens, since that his mood changes so much. But things didn't add up. There was something missing here in this big picture. So I decided to do my own investigation. Yato. これ場所です。
本当？
はい。めっちゃ怖いね。
すごい。
すごいよ。めっちゃ古いね。ですけど。あ、待て。あ、何これ。あ？世界の中でジャカブが一番ちっちゃい人文がいる。見ないよ。どこ行った？怖い。なんで？どこ行ったの？なんで？何が？なんでこれ？え？ジェイコブ、見て。何がいる？え？ジェイコブ？どこ行ったの？今。え？怖いよ。どこ行った？え？やばー。どこ行ったの？
テープに収録された映像はここで途絶えていた。だが後日、その日収録した映像にある手がかりが映し出されていたことが判明する。何を意味しているのか。
So what is really going on? Actually, we already know who is in the white shirt. It is the manager. The first time we see the manager is when he's outside the building. Then he allowed him to enter the building for one reason, to get rid of Ohashi. So while Mediocre and the crew are busy trying to find clues, the manager has a visit, most likely at Ohashi's apartment. We know the exact date that this happened because 5 days later, we see them trying to get in contact with him again. And in the narration, we hear that they have not been able to contact him for the last 5 days. And coincidentally enough, we see the manager hiding in plain sight outside the building and even stalking them when they try to get in contact with Ohashi. We then have 2 more moments where we see the manager in the background stalking them. First outside the haunted building and then at the mountain lodge before they enter. But when they come close, he's gone again. In the beginning I thought this was like mind control people or something. I even mentioned the students as a possibility, but it is in fact the manager. So what is the manager's motive here? It is honestly a hard question to answer. First of all, I don't know why the 4 students had to disappear. They must have seen something that they were not allowed to. But the thing is, Ohashi never mentions anything out of the ordinary in there, other than all his friends that have disappeared. Not any clues to any motive here. And the urban legend seems to be a result of Todo's company's sudden disappearance. But other than that, it's a complete question. The very last thing we see before the credits is the manager again stating not to record at this place. I still believe that Todo got his powers from some kind of alien species. There's too many clues pointing in that direction. However, it seems to me that the manager is controlling Todo, or at least is in a higher position than him. I'm going to try to guess the manager's motive now. I believe either the manager is an alien himself, or he's just trying to get rid of any evidence suggesting that there are aliens in Japan. And he uses Todo to get rid of most people, because he has his powers. So why are the aliens here? I believe the aliens use this mountained ancient pyramid thing to store energy, or to get energy. That is sort of the theory that the researcher is going for. But I still don't know what is so special about this building. Honestly, I have no answer to that. The C symbol is never explained. But there's one thing that I didn't mention at all. In the last scene with Madoka, we see her trying to make the C symbol, I believe. Maybe it's a way to protect yourself. That might be the reason why we see the C symbol in the notebook. But why in the building then? It will remain a open question for now. But to leave on a high note, did you know that all these banned from broadcast movies exists in the same universe? Which means that some of these unexplained things that happened or took place in Psycho the Last Family might be less unexplainable when we get a bigger picture of things. Well, for now, dear viewer, thank you so much for watching. Remember to do the like button, subscribe and leave a nice comment. Until next time, see you around.